Hi everyone! Today I want to share a new card that I made this week using the Background Bits stamp set. The Background Bits stamp set is a host stamp set, which means you have to earn the stamp set through your purchases. And maybe you think to yourself that you never put in quite that large of a purchase, or maybe you don't have parties at your home, so it's hard for you to earn these host stamp sets. And I like to share my hostess rewards, so if you want to take advantage of my frequent buyer rewards program, you can use those points towards host sets. And you can find out more about my frequent buyer rewards program at my blog, bethspapercuts.com. So let's get into the card. This is a really beautiful stamp set, as are so many of the hostess stamp sets this year, I have to say. This one is really pretty because it has a lot of background stamps. This is kind of a lacy pattern background. This really pretty little row of like tiles or medallions. Really pretty little script up here, sprinkling of flowers. It's a really wonderful stamp set for layering, and that's what I'm going to do here. Got lots of layers going on here. I've got the script and the tiles on top and some floral back here, and inside we've got some really pretty little details too. So let's get into the card. This card uses my favorite color, one of my favorite colors. I change all the time with the new in colors, but this is my favorite kind of long-term color called Island Indigo. And I really like it. And you need two pieces of that, a card base, which is 8.5 by 5.5, and then scored down the center at 4.25. And then this piece is just another piece to layer, and it's 4 by 5.25, and that's going to be this wood grain background. And then we're using Very Vanilla, and I've got 3 pieces of that. This is for the inside. It's 4 by 5.25. This is our front panel, 3 by 4.25. And this little strip here is just 3/4 of an inch, and you can cut it depending upon how much we're going to use. I just kind of grabbed that from my scrap bin. And 1 piece of early espresso, and that's 3.25 by 4.5. So those are all of our pieces. I'm going to go ahead and lay them out, so if you want to pause for one moment to take a look at the sizes and write them down, you can. So there are the sizes. Pause for a moment. Okay, I was asked for sizes on another video, so I thought I would give you the sizes. Okay, so the first thing I did was I embossed my Island Indigo piece. And I am using a new embossing folder called wood grain planks. Let me make sure on that name. I'm close. It was pine wood planks. This is one of those extra thick, dynamic textured embossing folders. Gives you a really deep impression. So we're going to go ahead and put our paper cardstock right in there, and I'm going to run it through the Big Shot. Now, one thing I want to point out with these extra thick embossing folders is that you have to make your sandwich a different way than normal. And by sandwich, hopefully you know that I mean these little plates. So normally you always use 2 clear plates when you're one on top and one on bottom, and then you put your folder in between. But because this is so thick, they say to take off one of the plates. So just go ahead and lay that aside, and you're going to run it through your Big Shot with the one that says folders, and then one of the clear plates. So it's a little different than usual. Oops, it's kind of tilted while I was talking. Let's put that back nice and straight. And I'm going to run it through the Big Shot off camera so you don't have to watch it go through the machine. There you go. Look at that really pretty detail, the grain, and you've got different layers and different depths. It's really beautiful because you want to have in between the planks is actually deeper than the grain, and so you've got all kinds of different texture to this. It's just beautiful. Now I want to show off that texture even more, and so I'm going to take a sponge and add some of my early espresso ink. I'm just going to go through, and you can only see the edges, so I'm only going to go down the edges. So it's kind of going to sit on the top pieces of cardstock that are up, and yet you're going to get the nice bright Island Indigo in between. It's really a pretty effect on this bluish green Island Indigo. Okay, so there it is. I didn't bother doing the center. Okay, now you're going to use that same sponge, and you're going to go ahead and add a little bit to the sides of your very vanilla pieces. Now I'm going to work on the background layering. The first one I'm using is that really pretty script. It's very faint, and I'm going to use Crumb Cake, which is a slightly lighter neutral. I added a little bit at the top and the bottom. Okay, next I'm going to layer on this strip of, I'm calling it tiles, and I'm going to do that one in early espresso. This is really long. It's actually long enough to fit down an entire card front. I'm not going to get out my giant block for that, so I'm going to use this smaller block. That's why it's hanging off the edge. I like using this grid paper that I've got down underneath because it really helps line things up nice and straight. Got that going across the bottom. Now I'm going to do this floral image. It's right in the middle. Now as you can see, I use two colors, and so I'm going to use my markers for that. This is Island Indigo, and I'm going to use the brush tip. And this is Always Artichoke. Always Artichoke is a great green for when you want kind of a vintage feel. So now I'm going to stamp that down. Kind of. There. So you've got lots of layers going on, but they just work together so nicely. Now we're going to add the little bits of floral image to the top. Okay, I'm going to use Island Indigo for that. A little bit down here on the bottom too. I didn't on this one, but there we go. Just a little bit peeking through, maybe some there. Now I also used it on the inside, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now that I've got it out and inked up. So that's it for the main layering of the base of the card, and now we're going to do the little thank you for the top. Put away my Island Indigo. Alright, I've done this in early espresso. I have a scrap bin of thin little strips like this, so my piece is just a little scrap here. Oh, very good. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and flag the end. I like to use my triple banner punch for this, and I've added some sizes on the back because the smallest one here is 1 inch, and so I've got a couple other sizes on the back here. Okay, so I'm just going to take my sponge and just kind of give it a little distressing. There we go. Oh, you know what? I'm going to keep this out and do the inside before I forget. So that is going to be the inside sentiment. So the outside says thank you, and the inside says you're always so thoughtful. And that is in the early espresso also. There we go. And last, I added this other little flower that's also in the same set. See how many different things you've got. You've got so many different elements, and you can use almost, I think I used almost every stamp on this card except this one. That's a shame. I should have made it just a little bit more layers and added that. So I'm going to go ahead and use my marker again. And I just added this kind of to the side. And that is the inside. It's always nice to do the inside, don't you think? It just adds such a nice touch. Okay, now we're just going to put it all together. And add this little ribbon detail. That is a new ribbon. I'll talk about that for a moment while I put this together. It's a new ribbon, and it is like an ombre effect work. It's light to dark. It starts out really dark and then gets gradually lighter from along the side. It's really pretty. It's a little different, something different than we've had before. Now I'm using dimensionals to pop up some of the pieces. The inside is flat. And then the pine wood plank embossed piece is up with some dimensionals. And then this main image panel is also up with dimensionals. And it's right in the center. There we go. And now the little thank you. So I just took almost the tiniest little piece of this ribbon. You just need a little bit. And I was going to use a staple, but then I decided that I just wanted to add some linen thread. It's just such a soft look, and I just love the linen thread, the natural fibers. So I'm going to go ahead and I tied a little bow around it. It was kind of tricky because it's so small. So I learned to kind of do it lower, and then I'm going to scoot it down once I've got my bow, because I was trying to do it towards the top like it looks like I did here, and it was just too hard to hold on to and get it just so. The nice thing about linen thread is it's very inexpensive. You get a lot on the spool, but it's a low cost, so you can cut this a little longer than you need and trim it off. It's always easier to do it that way than to cut a small piece and work with that. I don't know about you, but I don't like it when the bows twist. So I accidentally twisted it when I was tying it, I guess. So now I gotta pull it into place, force it to my will. There we go. And now I'll scoot it up a little bit. And then I can make this as long as I want to. There. Now, it looks like that might be attached somehow, but it's really just a glue dot. And I took the ends of my little thank you and curled them up just slightly. And I'll get a little glue dot for that. And there you go, a pretty little vintage inspired thank you card. I hope you like it. Again, it's the Background Bits stamp set, which you'll find in your host section in the back of the catalog, and you can find out how to get that at my blog at bethspapercuts.com. I hope you enjoyed the card, and I hope to see you back. Please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.